We are letting everyone fold in here, but I would like to give a warm-hearted welcome to everyone here. My name is Heather McIntosh, she, her. I am the co-president of the Alliance for Women Film Composers, and this is a wonderful, monumental get-together that we have here with incredible songwriters. And I am just so thrilled to celebrate you and your nominations on the short list. Wow. So I'm going to just go in the order I see all these windows. I see Taura Stinson, who is nominated for the song Winter Coat from Blitz, along with Steve McQueen and Nicholas Bertel, who wrote with Tara. I have Amelia.
Not nominated yet, but we'll take
Oh,
it.
nominated, short list. Jumping the gun. Okay, already here we are. Short list. Short list. So welcoming Tara. Hello, Tara. Good to see you. Amelia Warner, welcome. You wrote a beautiful lush score for The Young Woman and the Sea, and we're just so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for having me.
It's lovely. Tamar-kali Brown, you wrote this striking, incredible score for The Fire Inside, which I'm so excited to talk to you about how you use space and how you just created this world. It's wonderful. It's great to have you here. And Andrea Datzman, welcome for Inside Out 2. Taking on anxiety, taking on all of these other emotions like ennui, etc. Look out. It's just incredible. And I see Camille here, right?
Hello, everyone.
Congratulations. I hope you're just like riding high on the wave of Golden Globe magic. It's incredible.
Thank you
We're
so
so
much.
thrilled to have you here. Writer of the songs and also the score, the songs El Mal and Mi Camino for Emilia Pérez with your partner, Clement. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
This is so exciting. Did I get everyone? Is that everyone in our space? We did it, right? Great. Well, I guess we'll just go in that same order and we'll start about when you entered the project. What were your first conversations with the filmmaker like? And Tara, for you, since you were collaborating directly on the songs, what was that like for you?
Well, it's really cool because Nicholas Bertel, thank you first of all for everyone getting up early if you're in California and joining us. And congratulations, Camille. We are so proud of you.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Thank you for your support. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so it just started like Nick and I have this language that we've developed over a few projects. And we had already been writing songs for the film. And then Steve had this idea, like this moment that where this woman is going to she's going to break out into protest after speaking about like longing for her son. I'm the mother of I'm the daughter of a single woman. And so just thinking, all I had to do was put myself in the shoes of this child who was I would have jumped any train to get back to my mom. I would have done exactly what the character George did, getting back to Rita. So when Steve started the song, he had the idea with Winter Coat. He was like, I want to call it Winter Coat. When my father passed on, that's what he had. That's what he left to me. That's the one thing that made me feel like he was still here. And so when someone tells you that, the kind of the poetry just pours out of you.
Yeah.
And they wrote their portion in Abbey Road, at Abbey Road. And then Nick and I had some virtual sessions and just sort of like talking about this, reading the script, talking about the character, talking about George and Rita. And next thing you know, I hear Saoirse Ronan singing, and who knew that she could, and she did it so well.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's so vulnerable and incredible to hear her on the BBC doing her thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Oh, that's wonderful. Amelia, what was your process like? What was your entry point to the roller coaster of this film?
Yeah, it was so I think I read the script and was just kind of blown away that I didn't know about Trudy Edderly before, and I hadn't heard her story, and I didn't know, that she was the first woman to swim the channel, and I didn't know that the impact that had, and how much she kind of changed sport for women. And so I think once I read the script and the screenplay was incredible, I just desperately wanted to be part of telling that story. And so I met with the filmmakers, and that's really what we talked about, was just how has this woman been kind of forgotten in time? Like, why do we not know her name? I have three daughters, and I just felt like this is the film I want to take them to see. This is the kind of story that, when I went to the cinema when I was growing up, I saw those were the films that I saw, those kind of inspirational, defying the odds kind of, underdog stories. And so it was just amazing to be part of that, and to work with Jerry Bruckheimer, who again is, so many of the films that I grew up watching, he produced, and he's incredible about finding these people who have been lost in history and kind of bringing their stories back.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. Tamar-kali, tell us about your project. How did you first meet Rachel when you started, and where did you find the sound of the score?
Well, Rachel, I had the wonderful happenstance to have worked in a team with her for the first score I ever wrote, which was Mudbound, and she was the cinematographer for
Of course
that.
she was. She was the
And she
DP
was the
on that.
first, yeah, she was the first woman nominated for cinematography for an Oscar. So when she reached out to me, I was like, of course, you know, um, just just in the wake of that. I was so fortunate for my first experience in this world to be one where there was like a record amount of women below the lines, and just everybody bringing their A game to the table to bring a level of work that I'm still very proud of to this day. So of course I was open, and I was so grateful that she asked me to be part of her, feature film directorial debut. The film, so, and similar to Amelia, a lot of people don't know about Clarissa Shields, and this is a contemporary instance where we have someone who, accomplished the feat of being an Olympic gold champion 2 Olympics in a row. So she got the first medal that was ever given to a woman in boxing, and then followed it up. And the first one, she was like a junior in high school, and then did it again. So, I mean, pretty outstanding. And to not know, to not have her be, for her to not get her Wheaties box moment, for her to not be able to parlay this excellence into an opportunity to lift herself out of poverty, like out of the gate. It was, definitely speaking to an issue around representation, opportunity, parity for women who excel in their fields. And the film itself was a fighter, because initially it was at another studio and we were talking about working together, and it didn't end up going down. And then she ended up having to take the film elsewhere, and she called me back like, so we're going to do this now. And so just tenacity at every juncture
On
from
every
every
level
angle.
there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which is
that's
often,
incredible.
which too often has to be the case to get certain stories out, and to get certain folks their opportunity to show what it is that they do. So yeah, so with that spirit already, there was just so much. Pardon me, I have a landline, so I didn't think to mute that. So just pardon the ringing in the distance. So anyway, so yeah, so that was really an opportunity that I was really looking forward to. And I guess the biggest thing with working with Rachel was, because this was her first feature-length film, I just wanted to make sure that we figured out a style of communication that was going to give her the support and the comfort that she needed. I feel like when it's like your first big thing, that's the biggest challenge, to make sure that everyone feels heard and has space to do what it is that they do. But so I'm just grateful for the trust that she gave to me.
Yeah. The result's beautiful. It's awesome.
Thank
Love
you.
it. Andrea, we're getting into a different zone where in animation world, we find, I'm sure your jumping off point was so much like, whew, how was that for you? And how was your first entry, your first conversations about the tone?
You would think, but it was not. I had a first meeting to see some of it a year before, but a lot of it really came together right at the end. So I was getting most of the film in February and then recording in March, and but I was able to then come up with a suite beforehand, come up with the themes beforehand that I at least thought were going to be the meat and potatoes of it, and try it in all sorts of different ways. Because I was sort of sitting in a vacuum. I'm like, all right, I'll do a punk version of this theme. Well, I'll write a song on it. So I really had it in my bones when it was time to just take off in it.
That's great.
It's so wonderful hearing everybody talk about films with incredible female representation, because part of what I came up against in my own confidence in this was not growing up with female representation in strong decision-making roles. So seeing all this roll out is fantastic.
Oh, that's great.
And then behind the scenes, I'm representing the actual the actual anxiety that is coursing through us, because we haven't been given those roles to as models to see how you can do this confidently.
Oh, you nailed it. It's great. I mean, whew, I felt it. It's so powerful. Camille, thank you so much for being here. So in your process, now you're both involved with the score and the song for this film. What were your first conversations like? How did you get inside the world of Emilia Pérez?
Yeah, I am I'm a singer, songwriter, performer, and Jacques Audiard, who I knew, of course, who I've always loved his work, knew my work, and it's come to some of my performances, concerts. I first read a 20 pages treatment. And the story, I mean, if you pitch the story even now, it's so striking that I fell in love at first sight. You know, I fell under Emilia Pérez's spell at once. I thought the story was Shakespearean, like postmodern Shakespearean, because it was set in Mexico and with such paradoxes and with comedy and tragedy and something like a phantasmagoria, something very, very rich, that we sometimes don't dare to tell nowadays, these kind of stories. And I felt that's what the world, that's what I needed at that point, to have something so strong to work on. And it was fiction, and it was such an opportunity for me to work on songs for characters, for fiction, and being so political also.
Oh, yeah.
So we started from the songs. We didn't, you know, we really started working together with Jacques Audiard, his collaborator Thomas Bidgan, my partner Clément Ducol. It was usually like work at the table, scene by scene from the start, of course, questioning the genre of the movie and what should the song be saying, at what point should they be in the integrated, should the characters sing from A to Z, or should they sing only on the songs? Should it be an opera or a film? Because it was Jacques' first musical. I mean, you know, he's done so many movies, but it was his first musical. Like, so he really came with the opera reference. I guess it was comfortable for him to dive in. He came with saying, "Well, this should be an opera, and we'll see if it becomes a film." So it was really about questioning the genre, and is this gonna work? That's how we started. So we started, like, he was telling us about the scenes, and for a few hours. And then in the afternoon, I would start writing the song, and Clément would start producing, and we would join together our ideas of composition, of everything. And then Jacques would come and listen, and it was a back and forth like that for a long time. Different sessions for 2 years until having all the songs.
It's incredible. It just flows so gloriously, and you've built such a world there. It's wonderful. Great, wonderful work. It's great. Okay, so I'm going to get into a little bit about some nonfiction work that we have here. We have two like sports films on this project, with it's crazy in that way. So I was wondering, for Amelia, when you were trying to find the sound for this, you also had, it's a period piece also. It's did you have conversations about how much you were going to lean into the time and space, or did you how did you find the color? What were your choices there? Did it just come naturally? Were you like, we found it?
Not quite, but I think initially, it became apparent very quickly that it wasn't going to stay in the kind of period, and to kind of keep it in those constraints wasn't going to work, because it needed to feel more contemporary, and it needed to feel, I knew that I wanted the score to have this kind of punch to it, and to feel like bombastic, and to have to just punch through. And I knew that to do that, I would need different elements. And I think what was really interesting was I think the early ideas that I had and the first themes that I wrote were probably a lot more ethereal and kind of watery, to be honest, because I was thinking of the water, and I was thinking of Daisy, and I was writing this kind of very, beautiful music, I guess. And I remember one of my first meetings with Jerry, and he was just like, she's an athlete, and this is a sports movie. And it was like actually interesting to challenge myself into my own conditioning, I suppose, because it's like, well, why was I writing this score in this way? Because actually, if it was a man swimming the channel, if it was a man doing what she did, that's not the music I'd be writing. So I kind of almost felt like it was a bit of a slap around the face, and it was a great moment, because I just thought, yeah, why am I doing that? And after that meeting, I felt a lot more confident about just kind of pushing those boundaries and actually writing something that felt more that was more befitting of a sports movie, and that had that propulsion, and had that, I guess, just slightly more aggressive, and slightly more and a boldness, and a strength, and then I became much more interested in finding the strength in her, and and just conveying what she did and how hard it was. So so it was definitely a journey, and it took a minute to get there. But I think once I kind of had that sound, and once we had that first kind of racing theme, it felt like everything started to come together.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because she's a badass. She was like pushing against so much the whole time, like even her other women peers or young women peers, young girl, her first swimming opportunities, like they're just like, ah, you don't know what you're doing. She had so many versions of that, and to be able to just, punch through
and
it.
the first time she swam, the first time she finally got permission, she had to prove herself so many times. And then when she finally got funding and permission to make the first attempt, she was sabotaged by her coach, because essentially the American Sports Association did not want a woman to succeed in this, because it kind of completely went against their narrative of what women were capable of at the time. So no one wanted her to do this, everybody was against it. So she didn't, she had to do it twice, really, which is so she was badass, and she was tough, and she was strong. And I think that it became really important for the music to really embody that.
That's great. Tamar-kali, speak of strength, for Claressa's journey. I feel like when I was listening to the score and watching it to picture, it's like you get to do Rocky, and then there's this third act, and I find the thing that was such the gut punch for her story in women's sports at the time, which was not that long ago, where she began her journey, is the way silence is played, the way moment that you'd have, and to see. So just speak a little bit more to that. I feel like the way you use silence, and that, it's like the first two acts of the film, it's like all score, all go, go, go. And then, but there's still just this quiet, this like ramping up to what? How did you find that? Did you know that going in, that was the way it was going to play out?
For me, I am always thinking about all the components, and wanting to, like, I feel like the best experiences is when we're all present to what everything else is doing, knowing when to ease up, knowing when to come through. You know, it's a dance and it's music. It's like you got to know when to solo, you got to know when to just hold the pace, you know, hold the rhythm. And because of the style for the screenplay and also just Rachel's approach, it was really important in the telling of this story. There's so much like daily quotidian, you know, daily life moments, right?
Yeah.
And so, whereas that chamber space definitely my wheelhouse,
Yeah.
but I had to create an instrumental palette that was broad enough to also support these epic Olympic moments,
Yeah.
you know. But we always knew that the story would encompass the daily grind, not just of training, of
Right.
just living under the conditions that she did, and then carry us through these heroic moments, and then follow her through the aftermath of that, and then getting back up again.
Yeah.
So, so as I was like developing a suite of themes, Claressa's theme was really interesting, and it's used kind of like a bookend.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it's about, I always talk about this initial scene, and it's interesting how people respond to it
Mm.
because they're like, oh, and she's just so tenacious and she's running. And I'm like, she's literally like 9 or 10 years old running through the streets of Flint to a gym, probably like maybe 2 miles. And that struck me in my soul so hard
Yeah.
for a young child to be doing this, right? The danger, the implicit danger there, right?
Yeah.
The lack of supervision, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then just dilapidated state of Flint at that time, what she's
Yeah.
running through. So it was about sitting in the center of these other things that are happening, this breath, this, you know, like thinking about fire needing air, this breath of her running and pacing, and then that turning into kind of like a chorus of voices. Because how does a child this small get that type of passion and energy and strength to do what it was that she was doing that eventually brought her to the position she is in her life today? And then when we come back to that theme at the end,
Yes.
it it's a switch because what she ends up doing now, this one person who created this accomplishment, she's fighting for her survival in the sport, but she's bringing folks that don't even know her or wouldn't even consider her along because she literally rallied for women to make the same amount um, as men in the training. This was a teenager from Flint, and you know, so it was just amazing. Like now the voices were her being a part of this community and all the voices of the other women that would be affected by the decision that she made. And then another theme that was some of the best, most soulful people in my life are from
Mhm.
the Detroit and Flint area. And so when I came on to this project, you know, I want to do my folk proud, like just to be honest, like, you know. And so I had this theme that was called like the Spirit of Flint or something, and
Mhm.
that's what ended up being the work that kind of accompanies the Olympic stuff. And so
Oh
it's
yeah.
like it's, you know, it's strings, there's brass, there's percussion. It's like this fusion of where orchestral meets breakbeats.
Yeah.
And so that's the space, the kind of like climax of the film where that stuff happens. And you know,
Yeah.
so there was a couple of things. There was like just the emotional connection to my people there, you know, but also just thinking about what it takes for a child to be
Yeah.
so tenacious and courageous. Because I really feel like people get caught up in who she is today and what she accomplished, and they kind of lose that this is a child.
She
This
was
is a
a
very
kid.
small child in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Tara, I mean, your film takes place during the first year of World War II. We're in full-fledged blitzkrieg moment here. And to put yourself in this place, I've had the wonderful gift to work with you in the past, but I'd love for you to share a little bit about your the lyrical journey, the song approach, and how you work with Nick particularly, and how you know how that was for you.
Well, the craziest part of this, like putting, because I've always tried to put myself in the shoes of the protagonist of the, you know, and just in the world, in that world. And what was like apparent to me is that music was living on, like music was carrying people through.
Yeah.
Music was the thing, like the thing that people turned to for peace and to, and to just get away, get out of their heads. And I think Rita's character in particular, her father had a piano. It starts with a song that Nick and I, the film starts with a song that we wrote called Brighter Days. And it's just, I love writing songs where I have to go and I have to research the period, and I'm like, I want to make sure I'm spot on with the words and the sentiments of the time, because I could say one slang that'll take us out of, the intent of the song. So I literally like comb over every single word, every single sentiment, and just thinking about like how it would feel to be, because a lot of these songs, like there's a song where this woman is singing in that nightclub, and then they stop, and then the next thing you know, like they're all gone, and that's what was happening. But they were in the music before it, they were in the music after. Rita singing out to her song Winter Coat was her just like crying out to her son, and she didn't even know that he was trying to get back to her.
Right.
But my process with Nick is always very thoughtful in terms of, we want to make sure that we're honoring the period, that we're honoring the film, that we're honoring every word, every chord, every melody. And it's crazy. Like, we'll come back to each other like, oh, we should change, like right here at 122, let's change this, or just let's just change this word to make it feel more literal and less poetic or more attainable, So our process is always that way. But in this film, I think I had a little bit more of a emotional tie just to George being this little kid, who had the biggest heart. Like, he just said, you know what? I'm not going here. I know everyone hasn't seen the movie. He jumps off of a train to get back to his mother. And when he jumps off of that train, and that was me from that point on. I saw myself as him. I was raised in East Oakland, California. It's the best city in the world to me, but we have some trials, and I was that kid that, was raised by this woman who was like so powerful, so thoughtful, so soulful. And there's no way that I was going to be sent off to somewhere else, no matter how beautiful or whatever the dream is, or how many kids are going to be there. Take me back to the chaos with my mother. And that was like the biggest takeaway for us, that we had to always think about coming back, because we wrote 3 songs for this film, but Winter Coat is the centerpiece. I think because it's metaphors, there's poetry, and then there's also just like this heartstring that pulls on the idea of that you can wrap yourself in someone's memory, whether you have the code or not, because a thought can take you there, and this thought, like, I have this is a crazy thought, but it's an ashtray from my grandmother who's 96. And it's like from the 1930s, and it's like the cutest little ashtray. And she was not a smoker, but it reminded me of being at her house, because I always just saw it there. So when the last time I was in Alabama, I was like, hey, can I take this back with me? And I swear I'll just put it in my hand sometimes I'm talking to her on the phone. And and the final thing I have to say about this film is, like, I let my grandmother, I'm sorry, she'll be 96 on January 25th. And so I let her hear this, because it took us some years to write this, to finish this film as well. So maybe she was 93 at the time when we, maybe 94 when we completed the song. And she's like, wow, that sounds just like something that was back. She felt like, wait, is this an original song? Like, she was so proud, because she could not believe that her little grandbaby has written a song that sounds like something she grew up on. And
it's great. Yeah, it's so great. Like, right next to it, it's like you hear Ain't Misbehaving and all these other songs that just sort of float through. It's like, what songs are what? This is awesome. Like, look out, world. It's great. You really created that world.
I'm sorry, I just have to tell you that the playlist, for anyone that's thinking of writing songs and you want to put yourself in that world, make a playlist. So Ain't Misbehaving. Like, all these songs, like, were just a playlist that I listened to in the car at the gym on, just cleaning up, because it put me into that world and I never left it.
Yeah. So Camille, did you have anything like that helped you get in? Your world is such its own, I feel like. how did you find, like, I feel like every time everyone breaks into song, the beauty of that space is you get to just be inside in a more, like, you're so much inside the voice, the world, that you don't, these interior voices. I feel like that's the same for you and for Andrea's project. We are the literal interior voice here. And I'd love to just hear if there was any, like, and now we've got it, or what, did it just feel really natural for you? How was that? Like, how did you find those interior spark moments? Oh, we got mute. Oh, sorry. We can't hear you. Was that?
Yeah, there was a big
the best stuff. Sorry.
There was a big truck this way. Listening to Taura, something struck me when Taura, you said that you try to honor the period, and I felt my role was to honor the language, the Spanish language, because in its musicality, because the director Jacques Audiard doesn't speak Spanish, and my partner doesn't either. But it was a danger too, because I am not a native, and we didn't want either me or my partner or Jacques to do like literally listen, like do a playlist. Yes, we did a playlist, but if we didn't want to listen too much to Mexican music, because we didn't want to imitate it. You know, we wanted to be genuine. So I really dived into Spanish, but I really dived into my my own sensitivity and the way I related to the characters, and as you said, to their interior life.
Yeah.
And to what was going on in the scenes. And Tori, again, the story about the winter coat. And in Emilia Pérez, there's a little boy talking to his aunt, and his aunt is actually his dad. That is now Emilia Pérez. And he says, "You smell like papa." And of course, I'm talking about my father, you know. That's what's so beautiful, is that you've got different sensitivity. I guess Jacques is talking about his father. I am talking about my father. The little boy probably thought of his father performing the scene. Carla Sofia was thinking of her maybe as a father, you know, because she has a daughter that's now 14 or 15. And she was her father, and now she's her mother. She probably thought of all this journey she's been through, as someone, I don't know how you say, a spectator, someone from the public came to me one day, and he told me he's from South America, and he told me, "Oh, that song, it's my father. No, it smells just like my father. Everything the little boy says, like the old smells. And I sent the song to my father because I miss him, and it's just him." So this is how it works. And all the songs, you know, have a different story, and I had a different way to relate. The first song is Zoe, Elle est la gato. I love that song. It's a plea. So this is not intimate, you know, but it's about her, like the way she relates to her work, hypocrisy, Mexican reality, and the way the character relates to injustice, and how she feels stuck in you know, trying to defend hypocrisy and corruption, and how she wants to get out of it. And I relate to that. And Zoe, the cast, I mean, she's just right on it. You know, she's so tuned. She's such a justice seeker as a person too. And as an actress, she brings such, no, she's a diamond in the rough. She's so aligned. So all songs have, you know, I could go on for ages, but yeah, we really try to really, you know, relate to the moment and to ourselves.
Wonderful. Thank you. Andrea, talk about interior voice. You are literally the interior voice of this girl here. We are in with, it's not just joy anymore. We got all these other elements that are just bubbling to the surface in puberty. And I keep thinking about this film as I'm going through life, about just like how much I wish I had. I feel like this speaks to same with like Amelia's story. It's like, I wish I had this when I was a kid. You know, I wish I could see like the complexity of our lives, you know, to be able to see. So, you know, like how incredible for moms and for kids, for dads, everybody. You know, it's not gendered specifically, but there are so many wonderful things in there that you're scoring, those interior voices, literally. Did you find any, like, what things were revealed to you, and how did you figure out, how did you figure it out? No
Uh,
biggie.
no, it's just it's such a gift because it's a non-gendered film, even though we're talking about Riley and there are sort of genders that go on to the emotions, which is an interesting thing how they represent that as well. But that I can look at myself sometimes and go, oh my, I'm in the projection room. Okay, what kind of, can I switch this out for a good projection and then shut it down? Um, or oh, I'm getting into envy. But also then going, okay, what does this emotion have to say to me? The gift that it gave us of that all of these emotions have something to help us, have a message to share with us. I love what Camille just said about because I definitely playlisted for opening for the more rock and pop and punk elements.
Yeah.
But I primarily went inside. And I think that there's a universal truth that you can touch in writing. I mean, all of a sudden you'll get to lyrics that speak to everyone because it's a sense thing. So I very much went into sensory. I think that when you try to go from the ones and zeros of what music is, of saying, okay, this is sad music, this is anxious music because it's something that you heard, and how do I recreate that? That it's not going to connect with everyone the same way. Whereas I think music is just such magic because we feel something on the inside and then it turns into ones and zeros and it comes through science and then it hits somebody else and they feel it on the inside. I spent a lot of time getting away from my desk. I would really, really get stuck. I mean, when you think about how your posture gets sitting there at your desk, like everything would have sounded just really tense. So I put a ballet bar in my office earlier before starting this because I wanted to, well, because it was always a dream of mine. But every time I walk into a room that looks like it has a wall for it, I'm like, ballet bar. But to stay in my body because I feel like there's so much truth that comes out of that. Also, just singing too. If you can't sing something, then I mean, and I know so much is rhythmic, but even that comes through in a way. So a lot of my process happened in the shower, a lot. I'm sorry, California. But I found that I struggled at first trying to conceptualize any of the emotions or any of the scenes when I just thought about it. And when I felt about it instead is when things came through. And so I started doing something on this film that I hadn't done before because I love getting into I love hitting things. I have a hard time holding myself back from that sometimes. And not Mickey Mousing it because it's so much fun when you hit something and it's like, oh, but going into the broad scope. And so I started doing something this time through, I was calling a smash pass, with just like, don't hit it hard. Don't worry about the notes. It bypassed my perfectionism, just playing through on the keyboard. And if it's just rhythm, just okay. And then I would get like a basic shape within there. You're like, okay, yeah, I get that. All right, maybe do it 5 times through until I basically have the idea of what it feels like energetically over that. And then able to create the specifics over the top of that. But that helped bypass a lot of overthinking.
Oh, that's incredible. I guess that is actually kind of the last sort of thing I want to do a speed round. We got 5 minutes left. I know some people have to leave very soon. So speed round, if everyone could just take a quick moment to think, since we also have a lot of younger composers or composers that just are so thrilled for you and can't wait to be in the room, like what would you tell your previous composer self, your I want to be a composer self? What would you tell yourself? I know it's a doozy, but if you just sort of like off the top of your head, what do you wish you could have heard when you were first kicking into this journey? Taura, no pressure.
Wow. Okay. First I want to shout out Nyla Smith. She was my assistant this summer. She's a wonderful songwriter, composer. I see her online. And I hope that I gave her some good advice along the summer and the other, times that we spent together. I think a lot of times, like when you're young, you're just trying to please everyone. You're trying to get in with the in crowd, and you don't realize how cool you are, or you don't realize how much you have to give. You think that everybody else around you has it all figured out, and they don't, by the way. But I think being like your authentic self is in every conversation and every note that you write and every lyric, and carving out a path for yourself. When people would, I always like tell, I've mentored a few women and girls. And the thing is, if I could get this out in 3 seconds, is that the thing that everyone's already popular for, it's already out there. It's already in the ether. It's already out in the world. You copying that is doing a disservice to yourself and the gift that you've been given. So taking your gift and knowing that it was given to you for a reason, because it's yours and it's for you to give out to others. And so I'd say to really, really, and this is something I struggled with for years. I was like, okay, I can be Joni Mitchell today, Sade tomorrow. And that just wasn't, that was not that's not who I am, even though I take bits and pieces of them along the way. Who I am, my innate gift is what was intended for the world. And I am so happy to be able to share it in my way now. And I wish I would have been able to do that earlier.
Yeah. Amelia, thank you, Taura.
Oh my God, Andrea, I love the smash pass thing that you were talking about.
Oh,
And
good.
I'm absolutely like going to be doing that. I think it's amazing. And I think that there is something in that I suppose I would want to tell myself as well, previously, which was just that thing of don't try and kind of nail it, don't try and get it, don't try and grab, like just have an openness and have space and just like whatever you do, it doesn't have to be perfect or final. It doesn't have to hit every moment. It doesn't have, but that just finding the essence of something and keeping that space and not overwriting it. Because I think there's always that keenness to kind of to just keep writing and keep refining and actually just trying to maintain and retain that space, that openness, and just having a quality and an authentic feeling and response to something is enough actually, and has value. And I think that having your response to something is so unique to you, and you're the only person who's going to respond in that way. And it's, I guess, realizing the value of that and actually just knowing that that's enough, and that to feel something and to respond to something is enough, and all the other stuff you can fix later.
Great. Tamar-kali.
If I could speak to my young composer self, I would just say to stay the course. That it's definitely a rough road taking an independent approach, but you've made the right decisions, and you will find your way. And I guess the only thing that I would have wanted someone to tell me if I could have heard them, because 20s, but is to give yourself grace. don't replace Sister Mary Immaculate with the new creation of the version of that in your head. And what I'm saying is that I realized that because I took the independent route, I freed myself in certain ways, but that I had this internalized voice that was based on the things that weren't serving me, that made me turn away from formal education. And I recreated those cages or those chains for myself. And that's what I would like to have, had that wisdom.
Amazing. Camille, thank you.
I would say, yeah, create your own world. Be self-taught, even if you've been taught a million things. Be self-taught, go for imperfection, go for paradox. Everything that's wrong with you is actually the way to go. And especially if you want to do film music, I think it's even more important that you really go for what is unique in you and for your own place, because yeah, that's where it starts.
Oh, I love it. Andrea, do you have any? I know Smash Pass is a good thing to tell your younger self, but maybe something a little bit more. Ooh, another quickie.
Yes, all of this, you guys, is so inspiring. I'm so glad to be here hearing this advice too. Let go of how you think it's going to happen, because it's not. You can invite that in, but some of the best advice I've gotten from people is from people that had derailing incidents in their lives, and letting go of control makes you somebody that can roll with life, roll with drama, and it opens up your field also energetically to where you become a better artist as well, because you're not trying to control the elements around you.
Incredible. I know some of you have to go, and we ran a couple minutes over, but I just want to say thank you so much. All of you incredible, soulful, deep, powerful composers and songwriters. I'm going in alphabetical order by first name. Amelia Warner for Young Woman and the Sea for score. Andrea Datzman, Inside Out 2 for score. Camille for Emilia Pérez score. Mi Camina and El Mal from Emilia Pérez. Tamar-kali for The Fire Inside score, and Taura Stinson for Winter Coat from Blitz. I am so thankful to know each and every one of you, and so thankful for all the things that you got to share with us today. And we can't wait to see how it all shakes out. And we just, yay. Thanks for being here. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Tanya, everybody. Thank you.